In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create hundreds of SEO blogs in seconds. And those blogs are going to have embedded YouTube videos, index, optimized headers, HTML tables, bullet points, and even frequently asked questions. And because of that, the articles are going to be top quality and are going to help you to rank number 1 on Google. And if you're wondering here, this article that we have over here talking about Trump withdrawing from the 2024 presidential race has also been written with AI. And as you can see here, we have the index, we have the YouTube video, then we have all the different headers and HTML table and basically all the different elements that I have mentioned before. And to build a tool like this one, we're going to be using two main softwares. The first one is Airtable, where we're going to keep all the information about the article and we're going to trigger all the different actions. And the second one is going to be make.com, where we're going to have all the different actions that are going to make this tool possible. And if you're wondering, I haven't written a single line of code to build this tool. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to create it from A to Z. First, we're going to start with the Airtable. That is going to be basically where we are going to keep all the information and where we're going to trigger all the different actions. And as you can see here, we have two different tables. We have the articles table, where basically we're going to have all the different sections of the article, including the images, including the FAQ, including the code for the embedded YouTube video. And then we also have this other table that where basically we're going to store all the prompts. Then we're going to go to the make scenarios. And in the make scenarios, we have a total of 6 scenarios. This one basically listens for the items in our RSS feed and then send those items to a new make scenario that is basically this one. Then this one is going to include those articles that we listen from the RSS feed into Airtable. Then this one that we have here is going to be triggered once the previous scenario is finished. And this one is going to scrape and summarize the articles. And the next scenario that we're going to have is going to be this one. And this one actually is not going to summarize or rewrite any type of content, because what we're going to do here to create a brief and bullet points that we're going to use as background for the article from scratch. So that way, whenever we are writing the article, we're giving more background to OpenAI and consequently we're going to have a better article. Then the next one that we have over here is actually the main one, where basically we're going to write all the different sections of the article and we're going to bring it back to Airtable. And then the last one that we're going to have is going to be this one that basically uploads the articles to Shopify. And you can also upload the articles to WordPress or to Webflow. And indeed it's slightly more simple because with Shopify, first we need to upload the images to Shopify. Then we need to obtain the URL. And then we need to embed that URL in the HTML of the article. And that step in WordPress and Webflow is not needed, because when we upload an image to WordPress or Webflow, that image is going to be automatically hosted in the servers. And now that we have seen all the different elements that are involved in this tool, I'm going to show the 3 different ways that we have of inputting the information and writing the articles. The first one is going to be through this form that we have over here, where basically we're going to be able to add a title. We're going to select if we want to rewrite it or if we want to generate it from scratch. Then we're going to write here the role of the writer. That is going to help us to provide more background to OpenAI and consequently write better articles. In this case, the role that I have used in the previous article that I've shown to you was the role of saying that you are a political expert in the United States landscape, where we are going to input the URL of the article that we want to rewrite. Then we also need to select rewrite article. Then as optional, we're also going to be able to select if we want to add a video, to add FAQs, to add an index, or to add an HTML table. And if we want to add a video, but we don't want the AI to select it automatically, we can always input that video in this field. Then the last field that we're going to have here is going to be this one, where basically we're going to have the status. And if we want to create that article, basically we need to click on new and then click on add article. And if we want to leave that article for later, basically we have to click in wait. This one that we have seen is the first way of creating a new article with our tool. But now we're going to see another 2 ways. The first one is going to be using ChatGPT, where basically we're going to ask for a list of keywords that then we're going to input into our Airtable database. And I'm going to do an example using ChatGPT so you can see how to do it too. So we're going to go here to ChatGPT and basically say to give me a list of 20 keywords in a CSV file of the 2024 election race. Then what we're going to do is to obtain that CSV file and then we're going to paste the keywords into Airtable. And now I'm going to open it and we're going to have it here. So basically we're going to copy all these keywords and then we're going to go back to Airtable. So we're going to go to the data and then we're going to add a new keyword. So we're going to click in paste and then we're going to click in expand table. As you can see, we're going to create 20 new rows that are going to be 20 new articles. And the thing that we need to do now is to change the different statuses. So for example, this one is going to be generate a new article because we are not rewriting the article, but we are generating it from scratch. So basically we're going to drop over here and then we're going to have generate a new article. So this way we're going to trigger a different webhook where first we're going to create a brief and then we're going to create all the bullet points that are going to be the facts that we're going to input as background to OpenAI. Now in case that we actually want to write the articles, the only thing that we need to do here is to click here on new and then drag the field to the bottom of the database. But I'm not going to do it because I don't want the scenario to be run 20 times. And then the third way of creating new articles is going to be using this to make a scenario. In this first scenario, basically we're going to watch for the different items in this feed, okay? And as you can see, this is the feed that I'm using, but in reality you can use any. Then with this HTTP request, we're going to be sending the information of the feed to a different scenario that is going to be triggered by this webhook that we have over here. And as you can see, we're going to be sending different parameters like the title, the URL, and when it has been published. And the scenario that we're going to be triggering is going to be this one that we have over here. So as you can see, it starts with a webhook when we receive new data. And then it's very simple because we're just going to add a new article to our table. And we're going to make sure that we add the title, the original URL, that we're going to select the method rewrite article because indeed we are rewriting an article that already exists. And then we're going to select the status new because this is going to be triggering an airtable automation that then is going to trigger another make automation. It's going to be basically a cascade of automations. There is going to be a cascade of scenarios where first we're going to obtain the URL, then we're going to summarize it, and then we're going to rewrite the whole article. So now that we have seen the three different ways of inputting new articles to our tool, the two tables of our airtable database. As you can see here, we have the articles table and the prompts table. This articles table, basically we're going to have a title or a keyword. Then we're going to have the role that is going to be basically an information that is going to be sent as system to our ChatGPT module. Then we're also going to have the original URL in case that we want to rewrite the article, and then the method that can be generate new article or rewrite article. That is going to be basically how we're going to generate the brief and the bullet points that are going to act as back. Then in case that we summarize the article, we're going to have the article text, we're going to have the summary as well, and then we're going to have the bullet points over here. Then with this column status, basically we're going to trigger all different actions. So for example, the actions that actually trigger the scenarios in our table are new and summarized. Then the other statuses are also going to be important because depending on the status, we're going to generate one section or another. And here, as you can see, we're going to have different fields. Here we're going to have the main image that we're going to obtain it from Unsplash API, and it's going to be the main image of the blog. Then we're going to have the rewritten title, the meta title, the meta description. Then here we're going to have first section image that we're going to obtain it also from Unsplash. Then here the first section that, as you can see, is going to have different headers and it's going to have also different bullet points so the text is easier to read. Here we also have the second section image that we also obtain it from Unsplash. The second section, then in the same way we're going to have different headers and we're going to have different bullet points so it's easier to read. The third section image, the fourth section image, and here we also have the call to action that depending of the prompt that we have in the prompts table, we're going to have one different call to action or another. Then we're going to obtain the HTML of the table, the index, the FAQs in case that we have them, and then here we're going to have 4 checkboxes field where basically we're going to select if we want index, if we want an HTML table, if we want a video, or if we want FAQs. Then we're also going to be able to add a YouTube video that, as I mentioned, we can input through the form, but if we don't input through the form, we're going to select it with AI. Then this is the video ID that is basically a formula that obtains the video ID, and then this video embed formula is a formula that basically gives us the code that we need to use in order to embed the video into Shopify, WordPress, or Webflow. Now we're going to go to the prompts table, and in the prompts table, we're going to basically store all the different prompts that we're going to use in OpenAI. And as you can see here, we have 5 different prompts because depending on the section that we are writing, we may want one thing or another. And the different fields that we're going to have here are going to be prompt name, then the prompt, then the requirements, and then the complete prompt that is going to be a concatenation of the prompt with the requirements. The prompt name is going to be super important because with the prompt name and then using different search airtable modules on make.com, then we're going to obtain the complete prompt that we're going to use in different parts of the article. So let's start first with requirements. And as you can see in the requirements, basically we're going to have how we want the text to be written. So for example, we start with a brief contextual introduction for the topic, then we continue with an H2 that introduces the topic, and then we have some other parameters that we want to add to the text. Then a part that I really like about the prompt is that with a probability of 33%, add some bullet points to improve the readability and make sure that the title or introduction to the bullet points is not a bullet point itself. Then we also have some additional information like the one that we have here that is going to help to obtain a better output. And then the prompt that we're going to be using is going to be basically this one, okay? Depending on the section that we are writing, we're going to use different prompts, okay? So for example, in this case, in the first section prompt, we're going to write an introduction paragraph for a blog article where we mention the previous mentioned facts, that the facts are the ones that we have over here in this column, as you can remember, facts bullet points. And then with those facts, we're going to expose them in an unbiased way. And for the different sections, as you can imagine, we're going to have different prompts. So for example, in this case, in the second section, we're going to have this prompt where basically we're going to focus on how the facts that we have mentioned are going to affect the Democrat Party or the Democrat voters. But this is something that you can easily change depending on the article that you want to write. For example, the type of articles that I was writing were more a comparison between the Democrats and the Republicans. That's why in this second section, we're going to talk about the point of view of the Democrat Party, but then in this third section, we're going to talk about the point of view of the Republican Party. And now that we have seen both tables, we're going to see the airtable automations that we have over here, because the airtable automations are going to trigger the different mega scenarios. So let's go and take a look to what we have here. So the first automation that we have here is basically this one that launches a script to summarize the article. And as you can see, this automation is basically triggered when the status is new. That's what I said that it was important. And depending if the method is rewrite article, and the script is actually the same, but the only difference is that we're going to use different webhooks. And as I said before, this one that we have over here basically summarizes the articles, and this one that we have over here is going to be basically the one that rewrites the brief and then the bullet points. Then the next automation that we're going to take a look at is basically this one that we have over here, launches a script to create text. So as you can see, when a record matches conditions, and in this case its status is summarized, then we're going to update the status to generate all. And actually this is important because then depending on the status over here, we're going to be able to go through one route or another in the main make.com scenario. And then we're also going to run a script that is going to be basically this one, where we are sending the record ID to our specific webhook that is going to be this one that we have over here. That is going to create the articles from scratch. Now that we have seen the setup of the Airtable database and the Airtable automations, we're going to show step by step how to create all the different make scenarios. And the first one that we have already seen how to set it up is basically this one, where basically we have this module that is watch the feed items, where basically we just have to input the URL that we actually want to watch. Okay. Then as I mentioned, we're going to have this HTTP make a request module, and here in the URL that we're going to send a request to, we're going to have our webhook that is going to include the articles into Airtable. And probably you are thinking, why don't we include the articles into Airtable directly with this scenario? And actually it's a good question, but the thing is that you have different scenarios like this one, where we're watching for different items. We can be watching at the same time to different feeds, and then by sending information to that specific webhook that we have in the other scenario, we're going to be able to include different items from different RSS feeds, and consequently we're going to have more variety of articles that we're going to write. So now let's go to the next one, and in this one I'm not going to stop much because it's quite simple, and also we've seen it already. And what you have to do here is basically create your new webhook and then input it over here in this URL that we have here. Then the only thing that we need to do is to add a create a record Airtable module, and then send the variables title, URL, and then the method needs to be write article, and then the status needs to be new. As you can see, then we don't have anything else. Anyway, now we're going to go with the next scenarios because are going to be the most important ones. In this first scenario that we have over here, basically we're going to scrape and summarize the article. And as you can see here as well, this scenario is going to be triggered via webhooks. And basically what is going to happen is that first we're going to get the article content with the record ID variable that we have obtained here with this webhook, and then we're going to do an HTTP request to this endpoint from Rapid API, where basically we're going to send a GET request with your key. And here you have to write your key, the host, that is basically the endpoint URL that we have to write, and then we need to send as parameter the URL. That here is going to be the original URL that we are rewriting. Then body type raw, content type JSON, application JSON, and then we're going to parse the response. And we have a router because depending if we obtain information and the file size is bigger than 2 kilobytes, we're going to go through one. And in this lower route, what we're going to do is to update the record, and basically we're going to send that we have obtained that we weren't able to summarize it. Okay, and this is going to be something that we're going to see from our Airtable database. But then in the upper route, basically what we're going to do is to first eliminate the HTML with this variable that we have over here, then to summarize the content with this prompt that we have over here with this create a completion module. Then we're going to extract the facts, where basically we say for the article with title, then we're going to extract the facts of the article in bullet points, and then we're going to obtain the response in Markdown format without this or this at the beginning or the end. Okay, so now we're going to click, and then the last module that we have over here is going to be an Airtable update a record, where basically we're going to be inputting all the information that we have obtained in the previous step. So this is the article text. This status summarize is super important because this is going to trigger another Airtable automation that then is going to rewrite the content. But this scenario that we have over here is in case that we actually want to recreate and summarize an article. Okay, the other scenario that we are going to have here is in case that we actually want to create that article from scratch. So in that case, we're going to have here a webhook as always, and then we're going to get the article content. Okay, and basically what we want to obtain over here is with this record ID from the first step is going to be basically the main keyword that we want to attack. Then with this OpenAI module, we're going to create the brief, and we're going to send this prompt where basically we say given the article idea / title, and here we have the title, please create a brief for the article. And here is actually very important that we say to OpenAI that we need to obtain the topics that we're going to discuss, because by obtaining this brief with the topics that we're going to discuss, then when we are writing the article, we're going to have more in-depth content because we're going to be following the brief that has been generated with this step. So we're going to click on OK. okay? And then in the next step, in the same way that we have obtained facts from the previous steps, here we're going to generate those facts, okay? And basically what we're going to do here is, given the article, idea, and brief, and then the result that we have obtained in the previous step, create 10 relevant and real facts, which is very important that they are trustworthy about the topic. Then those facts will be used to regenerate an in-depth article. Please give them in a list without quotation marks and without anything else than the bullet points, okay? And now in the last step, basically we're going to update the airtable record with all the information that we have obtained from the previous steps, okay? So here we're going to update the summary with this create brief that we have obtained, and then here with these facts bullet points and then here we're going to include this variable that is going to be in the field facts bullet points, okay? Then we're also going to have the status summarize that, remember, is going to trigger another airtable automation that is also going to trigger another make scenario, and the make scenario that is going to trigger is going to be basically this one that we have over here. And as you can imagine, this scenario is going to be the main one, okay? So here basically what we're going to do is to first trigger this webhook where we're going to basically obtain the record ID. Then we're going to get the background using an airtable get a record module where basically we're going to obtain the title, the facts, the bullet points, and basically all the information that we're going to need later in this scenario. And then here with this search and record airtable modules, basically we're going to obtain the information from all those different prompts, okay? So as you can see here, the formula that we're using is prompt name equals to first section prompt, and the output is going to be basically the complete prompt that we have over here. That is basically the concatenation of the prompt plus the requirements that I mentioned before, okay? So you see here the prompt, and then here you see the requirements, and then you see that the complete prompt is basically this one that we have over here. And if you want to see the actual formula that we have over here, is basically this one, that is prompt name equal to first section prompt. Then in the next one, basically we're doing exactly the same, but saying prompt name equals to second section prompt. And in the same way, we're obtaining the complete prompt, and then we're going to feed to the system in order to have more background and consequently write a better article. Then here in get section 3 prompt, basically we're doing exactly the same, and then we're also going to use the variable complete prompt. And then here in get section 4, we're going to use this contextual CTA prompt, where basically we're going to be creating a contextual CTA that is to the readers that we want them to take, okay? Then here in the get HTML table prompt, basically we're going to obtain a prompt that is going to say the type of HTML table that we actually want. For example, you see that the prompt is this one, and then the requirements on this one, and then the complete prompt is basically this one that we have over here. So create an HTML table with maximum 5 by 2 dimensions, okay? And then some other instructions like avoid to include HTML at the beginning, or there's some quotations at the beginning or at the end, okay? And actually I've just realized that this is duplicated, so I'm going to eliminate the requirements or to fix the prompt. Just don't do it like that. Then here we're going to rewrite the title, and basically we're going to send a very basic prompt where we're going to be using a create a completion module, and we're going to send a message with the role user that is going to be basically this one, that is going to rewrite an SEO optimized title for this article that we have over here, reply exclusively with the title without quotation marks. Then with this model that we have over here, we're going to create a 3-words keyword query that is going to find a representative image for this article. And then the output that we're going to obtain in this model, we're going to use it in this HTTP request, where basically we're going to be sending a request to Unsplash API, and here you just have to substitute this parameter with your client ID, saying that we want to obtain a photo with the orientation landscape, only one photo, and then the query that we have just obtained in the previous step. Then in the next step, what we're going to do is to write the meta description, and then here we're going to update the title and the meta description, okay? So as you can see here, we're going to update the record ID, then we're going to update also the main image with the file name, so the alt text is going to be SEO optimized as well, and then here we're going to include the rewriting title, the meta title, and the meta description, okay? Here there is not going to be needed anything else, okay? And as you can see here, now there is different routes, as you can imagine. So basically in all these different routes, we're going to be creating all the different sections, and these 4 that we have over here are exactly the same, where basically we're going to create an introduction, we're going to talk about one point of view, then we're going to talk about another point of view, and then we're going to create the contextual CTI, okay? And as you can see here, the logic is very similar, where basically you have this condition where the status equals to generate all or to generate first section. In the second section is basically generate all or generate second section. Then here generate all or generate third section, and then here generate all CTA. And then the prompt that we're going to be using in this first module of these 4 different routes is going to be exactly the same. So based on the facts bullet points that we have obtained from the articles table, follow this prompt code. That is going to be the complete prompt that is going to write the first section of the article and that we have obtained previously with the search and record module. Then here in the second section, you're going to see that the prompt is exactly the same. Then here with the third section is exactly the same as well, and with the fourth section is exactly the same as well. Because remember that if we want to change the prompt that we are inputting to this system, basically we need to go to airtable to the prompts table, and from there change the prompt and also the requirements. So then when we're using the complete prompt, that remember is a concatenation of the prompt as the requirements, we're feeding a different prompt to the system, and consequently we're going to obtain a different result. Then in these four modules that we have over here, image query, image query, image query, basically we're going to obtain a 3 words keyword query that then we're going to feed to Ask Plus in the same way that we did over here, okay? Then it's very easy. We're just going to update the different sections. So over here, we're going to update the first section. As you can see here, let's see if it loads. Here we're going to update the first section, and then we're going to include the first section image. Then here we're going to update the second section, and then we're going to include the second section image. Then here we're going to do the same with the third section, and then here in the next route we're going to do exactly the same with the fourth section or with the call to action, okay? And here we have 4 different routes, and actually the logic is going to be slightly different because basically here we're going to use a condition that is the Boolean operation equals to true, okay? And what happens here is that remember that here in the articles table we had these 4 different fields: add index, add HTML table, add video, and add FAQ. So these checkboxes that we have over here is going to be what is going to allow to the data bundle to go through one route or another. So for example here, if the HTML table equals to true, then we're going to generate the HTML table. The same way here with the FAQ, then the same way here with the index, and then the same way here with the video, where additionally we also added another condition in case that we directly input the video that we actually want to have in the article, okay? So the problems that we're going to have here, as you can see, are very similar, and then basically we're just going to update the HTML section. Then here we're going to generate the FAQ based in the whole article with basically some additional information that we have over here, and then we're going to update the FAQ section. Then in the next round we're going to be creating the index, and here as you can see the prompt is slightly different, but in the same way as we did before, we're going to input the first section, the second section, the third section, and also the call to action, okay? And here we also have 4 additional requirements that we're going to input to OpenAI, okay? So then we're going to update the index section. As you can see here, basically we're just going to update the input by adding the variable that we have generated in the previous step over here in the field index. And then in the next route is actually slightly different, okay? Because what we're going to do here is in the same way that we obtained the different images before. First, we're going to obtain a query for YouTube, okay? So as you can see, we're going to obtain a 5 words YouTube query for this article title, okay? And the idea over here is that we want to obtain a relevant video, and we want to obtain that query without quotation marks or any additional information. Then using this STB request that we have here, basically we're going to obtain a total of 20 or 21 videos. That actually depends on the query. Basically we're going to use this endpoint URL that we have here, and we're going to use a get request. We're going to send that headers. We're going to send as headers the rapid API key. Basically input your key, the rapid API host, and then basically add this host, and then the only parameter that we need to pass is the parameter query with the title that is going to be the title of the article that we want to find a relevant video for, okay? But the problem here is that we're going to obtain a total of 20 videos approximately. Not necessarily the first one is going to be the best one, okay? So basically we're going to iterate over all the different results. So we're going to obtain a total of 21 data bundles, and then we're going to aggregate those data bundles into a text, okay? And the reason why we're doing this is because with this OpenAI create a completion module, what we're going to do is evaluate which one of the following YouTube video titles to be more relevant to obtain a representing video for our article. And this is the article, okay? And as you can see, this is the text that we have obtained in this previous step. Then here we're going to reply exclusively with the most relevant video title without quotation marks or any additional information. And then with this result that we're going to obtain from this module, what we're going to do is to, in the same way that before we launched a query where we wanted to obtain a total of 20 or 21 videos, now we're going to launch exactly the same query, okay? The difference is that as we have already selected which video is going to be the best fit, when we send this query with the actual title that we want to include in our article, we're going to obtain in the first result the video that we actually want to include. And what we're going to do here in the latest module that we have in this scenario is to update the YouTube video, okay? So basically here, and then here we're going to have this URL plus the first item in this array that we have here, okay? So then when we input this YouTube video into our airtable database, as you can see, we're going to be able to obtain the video ID, but basically using this formula that we have here. And once we update this YouTube video URL that we're going to have over here in this column, we're going to have basically all the fields that we're going to need. And that means that we're going to have the rewritten title, the first section image, the first section, the second section, all the different images, and basically all the different elements that we have selected to include with these checkboxes over here, okay? So now let's go to the latest scenario where basically we're going to be uploading the articles to Shopify. And you may think that this scenario is super complex, but the reality is that it's not, and it's actually super simple. So I'm going to be explaining what we are doing exactly, okay? So as you can see here, this scenario basically starts with a webhook, okay? That we're going to use to obtain all the information from that specific record in the articles table, okay? Then here, as you can see, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and I believe there is 8 OpenAI modules, okay? And all these OpenAI modules, the first talking about the sections, and then the other ones talking about the ID, are going to help us to obtain an index with hyperlinks like the one that we have over here, where if we click, we go to the specific section and consequently offer a way better user experience. So as you can see, first, we're going to obtain 4 sections, section 1, section 2, section 3, and then we're going to obtain 4 IDs, okay? I'm going to show you the problem, so basically you know what to do over here. So what we're going to do is extract the name of section 1, respond only with section name without quotation marks, and then here we're going to obtain the name of the second section. Then we're going to do the same here with the section 3, and then we're going to do the same here with the section 4, as you can see. The same way we're inputting the index, okay? And then what we're going to do with the ID is to basically obtain a unique ID that is going to be referencing to that point 1, okay? Here we're going to be referring to the point 2, and then here we're going to be referencing to the point 4. And we're going to do that because later with these two set variable model that we have over here, we're going to create the index. In the first case, we're going to create the index if we have frequently asked questions. And if we don't have frequently asked questions, basically we're going to create the index like this, okay? So let's put ourselves in the scenario where we have frequently asked questions, where basically we're going to be assigning the different IDs that we have obtained in the module 13, 15, 17, and 19, that actually this is the last one, with the name of the section that we have obtained in the module 5, 7, 9, and 11, that are basically the different section names that we have assigned. And then with this HTML that we're going to obtain here, basically we're going to convert the markdown to HTML. And actually this model that we have over here, the markdown to HTML model, is one of the most important in the whole scenario. And in this model, first we're going to include the index that we have included in the previous step. That is going to be the iframe that is going to contain our video. So then when we click in the specific section in the index, we go straight away to this section, this section, this section, or maybe the frequently asked questions, okay? And as you can see in this one, that is not generated automatically. Basically, we just have to input frequently asked questions. Then the other things that we're going to do is to basically input the first section, then the HTML table, and then all the different images, okay? And here there is something that we need to do if we're using Shopify, like it's my case, but it wouldn't be needed if we're using Webflow or WordPress. Because if we're using Shopify, we cannot use the URLs that we're hosting in Airtable, because then the content is not going to be linked and it's going to show as a broken link, okay? So as you can see here, we're going to be inputting like the second section with the second image, the third section with the third image, the call to action with the fourth image, and basically after this model, we're going to obtain the final HTML that we're going to include to our Airtable page, okay? So in Airtable, in case that we need it, we can actually have our HTML. So in case that we want to upload it manually or that we want to do something else, we can have it here. Then in these models that we have over here, basically we're going to upload the 4 images, and then we're going to obtain the URL 1, the URL 2, the URL 3, or the URL 4. So the request that we're going to be using over here is basically this request that we have over here, where basically you have to substitute this by your My Shopify name and then use this request that we have over here, okay? And as you can see, this is kind of complex, but I'm going to leave a link to the Shopify API documentation where basically you just have to copy and paste this query that you have over here, okay? And here we're going to be uploading different files. So as you can see, there is a total of 4. That is going to be the total number of images that we're going to have. And basically we're going to add an alt text, and then we're going to add the URL of the image, okay? And we're going to do the same process with all the images that we're going to have in our Airtable database, that in this case is 4, okay? And with the main image actually is not needed, because we can use a get a file module and then upload the output of that module directly into Shopify, okay? So we're going to upload all the different images to Shopify, and then we're going to set the images IDs, okay? So basically we're going to use all these different functions, and as you can see here, we have obtained the photo 2 ID, the photo 3 ID, and the main difference between all the different IDs that we're obtaining is basically the position that the image has inside the array, okay? So we're going to click on OK, and then we're going to use this sleep model, okay? And then this model is super important, because what we're going to do here is to obtain the URL that we're going to use later to upload the content to Shopify, okay? So we're going to use this query, and again, I'm going to leave this in the description so you don't have to do it for yourself. And we're going to repeat the process for the section 2, section 3, section 4. Then in the same way that we did before, we're going to convert all the different parts of the text in HTML, okay? Obtain the HTML is basically the one that we have obtained in these 4 different models, okay? Basically, we just need to download the main image, and then here in the last module, basically we're going to use a create an article module, where basically we're going to be targeting to the specific blog that we want to upload the article to. And then here we're going to add the main image, that is basically the data that we have obtained in the previous model, with the alt text that is basically the file name that we have in our table. I already mentioned it, but this scenario is for Shopify, but for WordPress or Webflow, it could be extremely similar. The only things that we don't need to do is to upload first the images to Shopify or to Webflow, because the images are going to be uploaded directly if we upload them with the HTML, okay? So that could be it, guys. And as you can see, this is a super interesting way of obtaining top quality articles, indexes, images, FAQs, and basically all the different elements that we're going to need to rank number 1 on Google. And if you like the video, remember to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.